the Emmys recently took place, you know, the awards ceremony. Yeah, you probably didn't watch it because few people do at this point. But in any case, it was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, who, well, he was essentially humiliated on stage by a black man, and he was humiliated because he's white. Essentially, there was a black man who came on stage and made jokes at the expense of Jimmy Kimmel's race. And I have a hard time watching this without just thinking, imagine if the roles were reversed. You know, imagine if a white guy came on stage for a national show to mock the races of basically any other race, right? The race of anybody else of a different color. It wouldn't be acceptable. But this is. And that's a really troubling sign for the future. Because it's like, do we want our countries to be like, well, South Africa, Uganda, Zimbabwe, where anti-white racism is encouraged? I don't think so. So anyway, let's go ahead and watch this video, because I don't think you can realize just how bad it is until you do actually listen to it and watch it. Alright, so here we go.
JK, now, before we announce the nominees, you know, I have a few things that I'd like to say.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Because in rehearsal, I thought we decided that we're just
You know, we have a record number of Black Emmy nominees this year, which is great. This is the part where the white people start to applaud.
Okay, so just right off the bat, you know, like, yay, we've got lots of black nominees. Again, imagine. Look at how many white people have been nominated this time. Black people, come on, celebrate. That's what he's saying. People don't realize it. People are so, like, used to anti-white racism on a public stage at this point that they don't even pause to think about just how horrendous this is. Alright, let's keep going.
Oh. And nod.
Oh.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, these Emmys would have been All-Star, these Emmys would have been NBA All-Star Weekend and Wakanda, all wrapped into one. This was supposed to be the blackest Emmys ever. Y'all wouldn't have been able to handle how black it was gonna be. But because of...
Like, you know, a lot of conservatives have talked for, I don't know, probably about a decade now, about how those on the left are embracing identity politics and race-baiting politics and trying to make everything about race. Meanwhile, those on the left scream, no, look at those racists over there, those conservatives. This is the sort of stuff that those on the left actually promote. Like, identify by your blackness. So, like, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about blackness. That's a phrase that he actually, or a word he actually used without some sort of shame or anything. Like, this is supposed to be funny, I guess.
COVID, we can't even get in the damn building.
Well, thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, if these Emmys would have been so black, it would have been like hot sauce in your purse black. It would have been how...
Just saying, that was Hillary Clinton who had the hot sauce in her purse to try and pander to black Americans. Just, you know, if anybody forgot that reference, that's actually who did it. It wasn't a evil Republican, it was Hillary Clinton.
Howard University homecoming black. It would have been you fit the description black.
Well, I'm sorry that it wasn't that. It would have been great. It really would.
We would have had speeches quoting our great poets like Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, Cardi B, WAP, Jimmy.
Oh, the song. Oh,
yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
But instead of that sexy melanated energy.
Okay, melanated energy, I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat. Like, I mean, there's a certain point at which, okay, my being white is something that I recognize about myself, but I don't predominantly identify as that. It's not such an intrinsic part of my personality or my being that it's something that I mention everywhere I go, that I associate with just these poets, just these singers, because they're white and solely on that. That's the sort of culture that he's trying to create. Look at these black people in these different sectors and they matter solely because of their blackness. Like, seriously, if these races were reversed, I mean, people would find it outrageous. If you had Jimmy Kimmel there talking about different white artists, white singers, white poets, and just specifying those and saying, see, look how white this is. Look how white this could be. People would find it horrendous. But not now. Not now. This is perfectly fine, because this is the sort of racism that the modern Democrat Party is promoting, that the modern left is promoting.
Here I am, alone in a sterilized green room, trying not to sneeze on a llama. What a damn shame.
Actually, an alpaca.
All right, don't white-splain it to me, Jimmy.
Sorry.
It should have been a pit bull.
And there it goes, white-splaining. I think that's plenty, right? White-splaining, based upon, that's kind of like the rehash of mansplaining. If you don't know, if you're privileged enough not to know, right, mansplaining is when a guy says something or attempts to explain something to a woman. And he's basically not allowed to in modern culture. That's seen to be bad, that he could possibly have something to say to a woman. And now we've got, white-splaining, because a white person can't possibly explain something to a black person. I don't think enough people recognize just essentially where this goes. And that's why I again point to these countries like South Africa, Uganda, and Zimbabwe, where white people were killed, and are still being killed in many cases, because they're white. Because anti-white racism does exist. Like, if you listen to college professors talk, you would get the idea that there has never been any anti-white violence. And in fact, there has been genocides against white people by black people. It has happened. And now we're embracing this culture where these people don't want a meritocracy. Instead, they want a system of, whites being held as inferior or as a second class. That's not going to end well. And Anthony Anderson, the black guy who was shown there, he used his black privilege to bully Jimmy Kimmel at the Emmys. And I say bully Jimmy Kimmel because, he could have spoken out, but how would that have gone? What sort of criticism would he have gotten from his own allies? Because he's a leftist, right? Who constantly criticizes Trump. But if he'd have spoken out and said, I actually didn't like that skit, I don't think it's right, I think it's racist, I think it's anti-white, can you imagine all of his peers, his friends, and how much they would have launched against him? Yeah, of course they would. But Anthony Anderson used his black privilege, and I say that because he stood there and made jokes about the white guy and about whiteness as a black person. That's something that a white person couldn't have done. So where is the privilege in this country? There's a reason that there are white people who pretend to be black in order to get into certain careers, or who do so to try and get privileges at universities, especially to get into universities and so on, but the reverse doesn't happen. Because the privilege in this country is not white privilege at all. And we're moving in a very dangerous direction. I will say, however, the Emmys hit an all-time low for the second straight year in terms of viewership. That's why I said in the beginning of this that most likely you didn't watch it, and that's for the best. But it is important. I mean, it's easy to just say, these are the Emmys, who cares, and just kind of ignore it. But it's an indication of the way that our culture is going, because you see what is considered to be acceptable. Why is it acceptable for them to talk about whiteness as a bad thing and blackness as a good thing in the way that it was done there? It shouldn't be, but it is. And people need to start paying attention and start, fighting back, actually. Need to start saying, this is wrong and we won't tolerate it. Wait, if you enjoyed that video, please remember to like and share. I can't grow without you. Also, if you want to be reliably notified of new videos, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. If you're able to support the production of these videos, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe at Subscribestar, or maybe get one of the healthier products, or even get some merch.